ladies and gentlemen, Carl Logrecco. CC Logrecco started this company in La Jolla, California in 2000 using a prepaid cell phone from his truck. 17 years later, he has consulted with entrepreneurs, businesses, authors of The Secret to billionaire Bill Bartmann. This fiery empath is nothing short of bold and straight up, yet a gentle beast when it comes to how businessmen show up and lead. Carl is based in California, but he works remotely with clients all over the U.S. When not consulting, he spends most of his time traveling, fishing, and with his main sidekick, his daughter Tristin, whom he delivered. Wow, powerful. Dude, Carl, you ready to rock this?
There you have it. Let's go. I've been ready since 9, man. I've had to wait. 7 hours? It's killing me.
Let me on.
Right? That's why I called in earlier. I was like, I can't wait. Leaders do go first.
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah, Chris rocked it, dude. You chose a
Chris is amazing.
Great partner, man. And yeah. I'm excited to meet Nicole, dude. Like, who else is on the team?
Right?
It's amazing. So, dude, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to be on here and share about your journey and with coaching and all that good stuff. Thank you for taking time out of your day.
Yeah, you're welcome, man. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So let's get started, and particularly, we would love to hear what your journey has been like. What has it been like to get to where you are today? What were some of the challenges and lessons that you learned along the way?
It's been one opportunity after another in breaking the mold. I mean, I knew at a young age, since I remember walking, I was here to help people. Now, I grew up in an environment, this is going to be funny, where Kmart was the source of nutrition and the oracle of all knowledge, right? But, my family has upgraded. Now it's Walmart is the source of all nutrition and oracle of all knowledge. So I knew I had to get out of this because it wasn't me. I don't know how I knew it, but I felt it viscerally. And I just kept following that. And so, growing up, I always thought I'd be a doctor because I related to doctors as, well, these guys help people.
Yeah.
And was also a really great baseball player, great athlete. But what I found there, it wasn't so much baseball. It was I felt connected. I felt in my body. I loved being on team. And it's where my passion came alive. Now, you may not know this because we just met recently, but I grew up really shy, shameful, and introverted.
Wow.
And here I am speaking all the time. I could have done all 9 hours with you or your 12-hour marathon. And so it was consistently coming out of that shell, being in an environment that was all about me being in the shell.
Yeah.
And so what I really got out of that was the power of the environment. Like, it's really challenging to be in an environment where people cannot see you or don't want to see you because they don't want to play any bigger than they are. They want to play small. So that was tough.
I do want to ask you a question about that, and this is just like let's dive into this. What do people who are in like third world countries who don't have it almost doesn't even seem like they have a shot to get out? Like what do they have an opportunity to do to get out of their environment?
Great question. A couple years ago, I spent almost the whole year on humanitarian trips, and I was in Africa. And when we arrived on the bus, they came out and surrounded us and were singing and dancing. And we just jumped out of the bus and started singing and dancing with them. I was so blown away. It's like having your heart cracked open. I was in tears that here I was in what we think in this country is poverty. They had all the joy and love I've ever seen.
Yeah. And
we built, a school together. We built latrines together. I lived in their, house that was built out of mud. And I got to tell you, they do it through family. They do it through a community. But they don't see where they are as wrong or bad or shameful.
Right.
Like they find a way to embrace it. And I've never seen people so willing to go to joy and happiness uninhibitedly, unabashedly. And here it's, people have to come out and trust. So
it's like, hey, don't be too much. Don't be too happy.
Don't get too close.
There's something wrong if you're too happy.
Yes, something. You're on drugs. I think in third world countries or even in here, wherever you are, it's I knew I was up to something better than this, and I just focusing on that. Especially, what does a 7-year-old really know about who he wants to become? But I knew who I wanted to become.
Yeah.
And that was to always be passionate, always to feel alive. And so that really got me determined, because you got to have a huge level of determination, if not relentlessness, to break through that shell. And so it was really me against me my whole life. But I think that what really got me through all that was willingness to keep putting it on the line. I learned to embrace failure as much as success, and I probably become more successful as a result of my failures than I have, building a streamlined or scalable business.
Was there any particular examples where you just God, totally messed up, but you took away the gold, the silver lining from some of those challenging failures?
Oh gosh, the list I could give you right now. I think one of the biggest ones, and I'll connect this back to, my journey, was I knew without a doubt when I was in high school I was going to play professional baseball. And I had scholarships and everything. And it all came to an end when I graduated. I ended up having an operation. And all of a sudden my identity was gone. It was just like, who was I? People didn't know how to relate to me. My family's kind of like, well, they don't have anything to do now because I'm not playing baseball. So there was that pressure to get back there. And I just started to realize that so much of my identity existed in the game rather than, what am I really here to do? I did that because the world saw me as a baseball player, and I fell right into that trap of, is this really for me? And so that's when the journey for me began. A year and a half later, I'm sitting in front of Tony Robbins and 2,000 people at his seminar, and I didn't even know who he was. Wow. And all of a sudden, the light turned back on again. Yeah, it was a great experience.
Wow.
So I think that, anytime there's a setback, it's an opportunity to really look, was this in alignment with me to begin with? Sometimes you may be passionate about something. It may feel like it's in alignment, things are working, but it may just be an additive to what you're currently doing. I'm not a huge believer of putting your heart into everything you do, but not being so invested into one thing that you're blind.
Yeah. Wow. So you kept developing yourself. You became a coach, right? 17 years, I think you said?
Yeah.
Wow. So what's that been like? That's amazing.
You know what's really funny about that?
What?
There's not that many problems that people have, and they're not that different, no matter who you talk to.
Wow.
It's almost like talking to the same person over and over again. The only thing that's different is how they relate to their story, how they tell their story, what their story is about. But once you strip that away, it always comes down to three things. I'm afraid to be seen. I don't know if people hear me. And do I matter?
Wow.
And so my coaching is about, let's just start where we know you want to be. Right? Let's just start there, because that's what really matters.
Yeah.
At the end of it.
Yeah.
Are you willing to be seen? And guys have a big thing about this. Is why we have such a strong suit or an armor. And we want to be seen for what we do. But, when you get there and you've done all these things, I don't know that it's going to nourish you, fulfill you in the way a lot of men think it will.
So have you had this focus on the masculine expansion throughout the 17 years, or is that something that's recent?
Yeah, the past 3 years. During my humanitarian trip, that was the first time I've ever stopped doing business. I said, I just need to get away from it. I got divorced. I had to make changes there. And I just felt empty. Like I couldn't feel connected to my vision anymore. And I said, you know what? There's no point of me doing all this stuff if I'm not even present to what I'm doing anyway. No. So, my version of taking care of myself is let's go to Africa and take care of kids and people that are challenged. And I just started noticing men gravitating to me. And every time I started talking to somebody, men started gravitating to me. And then when I got back in the U.S., probably, a year later in multiple different countries, men from my past started calling me, how are you doing this? How are you traveling the world, running a great business and still being a dad and now a single dad? And so it just started attracting to me because it was my calling, except I just didn't do one thing with that calling, which was accept it. Like, take it on. Like it's slapping you in the face. You got to choose it because it's choosing you. And once I did that, everything just started elevating. Everything just started happening naturally. Things started popping up that I never even saw. But the level of productivity went up. So I was just getting confirmation from the universe everywhere I went that that's what I'm here to do.
Wow. And do you know what it was that particularly drew men to you, like that made you, what stood out about you that had you be the expert in men?
Well, I think there's this integration men are searching for. Women are also searching for it as well. Is perception of what masculine is growing up. It was protect, provide, procreate, and it was never purpose. Live from your heart. Have the best relationship with yourself ever, so that you can protect and provide. We figured that out the hard way. But I actually grew up having a stronger feminine side than I did masculine side.
Me too.
Right. So I grew up in a really hard-headed Italian, I'm going to spank you for pretty much anything environment. So I connected more to my intuition. That's really how I survived. So it was, in my late 20s where I really started taking on the masculine without feeling. I would go to anger as soon as I started going masculine, because that's what I learned the masculine was.
Yep.
And there wasn't that many role models out there who had it both. Most of the men that I see then and now, it's like they're so far in their heart. I call them lion hearts. They're so far in their heart. They're happy. They're jovial. They're on purpose. Great family men. But they're all broke. Like their wife is pretty much running the family. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
And then I saw all the alpha guys, successful, best-selling authors, and they didn't know their wife or their kids if they didn't have multiple, mistresses.
Yeah.
I was like, that something's missing here. And so I started seeing this integration. So I think what attracted them to me is they could see me in business mode, but they also saw me in daddy mode. They saw how I took care of myself, but I could be the butt kicker bull guy at the same time.
Yeah.
So really what happens is, if you think of, men and our heart, we've got the essence of our heart and we've got the flesh of our heart. And that flesh is the wounded part of, I don't want to fail or disappoint or regret anything. And so what's happening with men is they're showing up as half men because they haven't integrated this part of them. They're either in one head or the other, and neither one's good enough.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Or big enough.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just never enough there, because we cannot live in one head or the other.
Wow.
But that is, that's separation. We're showing up separate. And so if you think a half man trying to hold up his world, his empire, his family, his wife, his love life, his money, everything else. But if he's only bringing half of them to the table, he's only half engaged. That's a real big setup for collapse. And that's what's happened with a lot of guys. They collapse. And so that half man syndrome's, really, it's got to go. It's got to become more complete for men, where they're seeing that everything they're doing is the extension and expression of their purpose. So that it's constantly nurturing and empowering them and everyone else. Like, when you take 10 guys and have them walk into a room, and it's usually that one or two guys you look at and say, I can feel him from across the room. That guy's on purpose. That guy's got something. The other guys kind of just don't want to be seen. They do, but they really don't.
Right.
And so, the new masculine is about integration. He's about, how well do I treat and respect who I am? How well can I live my purpose and be in integrity with it? And the third one is, can I keep my heart open no matter what in anything that I'm doing and put it on the line? And when he gets those three things, all of a sudden there's this integration of the heart. He's got the masculine and feminine balance. He can dance with a woman and her emotions so she feels safe because he's feeling safe. If a bear walked in here right now, I could go to war with it. I could talk my way out of it, and then I can come back and be present with you. So there's that less fixed, rigid, I'm just going to compartmentalize my life and live in one box, which is business, and then 2 boxes, take care of my family. And if that works, then I'll get to everything else in my life. But life isn't separate like that. We have to fully engage and take it all together. And so 2 of the biggest challenges I work with men on is they think they have to figure it all out. And they don't have the balls or the courage or the faith to take it on until they figure it all out, and no one figures it all out. Right. And then once they're fully engaged, well, how do they keep it together in a way that doesn't burden them and exhaust them? Because, the masculine energy, it burns itself out pretty well if you're only showing up with a half of you.
Wow. And that sounds like the half is, it's almost like, it's like being in control, like forcing things, causing things,
right?
Versus like a powerful just being and not like needing things to be a certain way. Would you say that's kind of how it is?
Right on.
Okay.
Power is very silent and gentle and has the ability to create explosion.
Wow.
But most guys, they're forcing and pushing and willpowering. They're in one head or the other.
Yeah.
And the heart just is like, I'm here. Take me as I am. This will happen. And I don't really need to be in the way or control it. There's a surrender to it rather than a control. And really what that does is it creates this illusion that we have control over the future. And that illusion keeps us from actually trusting ourselves and having my word will be. I call it abracadabra. I just learned the real term of abracadabra is, I create with my word. And when I give my word, I create that. That's what abracadabra means.
Wow.
And that's where men, right? That's where men want to be. Abracadabra.
Yeah.
I create with my word. If I give you my word, that's what gets created. So there's no push or force or control there. That's when the magic really starts to happen.
Wow, that's incredible. And in terms of creating with our word, men, would you say that's more of a driver for men to be able to create with our word than for women? Like, is it different, or do we both want to be in integrity and people of our words at a pretty much equal amount?
Great. I think giving your word is neither a man, woman, masculine, or feminine thing. I think that has to do with the integrity and how well you relate to yourself. One of the things I can tell you is men do use mental and verbal masturbation way too much. Like, we have too many ideas, too much stuff to say that we're really not backing up as we say it. Like, when you are behind what you say, when you're behind your purpose, it's just very clear that's what will be. And there's no self-talk there. There's no doubt or fear there. It's just, this is who I am. And therefore I've declared it. It's the I am. What most guys are doing is they're hoping, wishing, praying, trying, taking tons of action for someday, right? They're always talking about what they're going to do rather than speak directly to it and from it.
Wow.
And you can hear it in their language, it's like, well, I'm going to do this and I really want to have this happen. And I'm in the process of this. It's always something else. Do you hear the separateness in that language? It's never, I am this. We rarely get to that point because that's the ownership. And ownership, it can be riveting. I wouldn't call it scary. It's just riveting to be in a place of embodiment and ownership, because to get there, you got to give up control. And that part is, it's uncomfortable. But I got to tell you, when you are leading with your heart, which is our, physical connection to the unknown, you're going to realize that the unknown is the place to be. This figuring it out stuff is not really where the magic happens.
Wow. So tell us more about this unknown space and how you've guided men to dive into that, to trust that, to surrender that, to create that, and invite it into our lives. Great
question. And the first place is to get them radically present. And here's what usually happens when, I'm in a conversation with men about their goals or their vision or what have you. As it starts to unravel, they start to become more clear. There's less talking about it. And then all of a sudden he'll just say, oh, I am this. I'm like, yeah, you are. And it has to be a visceral experience to really embody your vision so that you are living it, not doing it. There has to be a visceral experience. And that's where I'm basically just the catalyst of getting them to viscerally experience. Because once that happens, things just start to open up. That's how they access, what I call the new masculine, which is, much more integrated. But until they have that visceral experience, men resist change at first because, they know their wife may need more time and it frustrates her, or they know that, they're 10 or 15 pounds overweight. But until they have that visceral experience, it's really hard for them to make that shift. But when they do, all of a sudden, they just come alive. And that's powerful for me. That's what really drives me, is watching them come alive. All of a sudden, it's like, wham. And the masculine shifts quickly when it does. And it's just like watching these guys soar. They're no longer, swimming in the status quo or trying to keep their head above the status quo. They're all about breaking the status quo now.
Wow. That's awesome. That's so cool. In terms of men being able to ask for help, I know it's a big challenge for a lot of men. What's your guidance around that? How do they, like, if someone was listening right now and maybe they know or they don't know that they're the type of person who doesn't like to ask for help. How do you like break them through their numbness or their fear or their stuckness around that?
Yeah, great question. So I'll answer that by telling you a story,
Yeah.
a real experiment that I did. Remember, I grew up really shy and introverted. I was hidden from the masculine. And so, asking for what you want, rejection was a huge fear. So here's what I did. I drove to LA. It's like, a couple years ago. And I decided to set myself up by asking 100 random people on the street for anything that I wanted. Anything. And the intention was I wanted to be rejected until it no longer had an impact on me.
Yeah.
And so I get out of the car, I walk, there's these 3 old ladies like playing cards. And I walk over to them, I said, ma'am, can I strip dance for you right here? And she kind of looked at me like this. And the other woman started reaching for dollar bills. She was all about it. And then the third woman like reaching for a purse. I'm like, oh my God, she's got a stun gun. And then I went to these 4 guys in suits and I said, I want $1,000. And he kind of looked at me. I went to the next guy, I said, I want $1,000. He's like, get a job. And then the third guy, I said, I want $1,000. And he looked at me and he says, you're up to something. Tell me why and I'll consider it. And the fourth guy says, I'm with him. And so I just kept doing this all day. I walked in the barber shop. I said, can I cut hair with you? He goes, you got a license? I said, no, but I'm really creative. And he started laughing. I went into a restaurant. I noticed a woman had an American Express card. I said, can I borrow that? I want to go shopping.
Wow.
And then I just started, can I eat with you? Can I have a bite of your sandwich?
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
3 women walking down the street. I walk up the first one. I said, I want to have sex.
Yeah.
And she goes, does that work on everyone? And then the woman behind her looked at me and said, well, I'm on lunch break. I got about 30 minutes. And I looked back at the first one and said, ha ha. And then the third one's walking down and I see her and I said, I want to have sex. And she goes like this to show me her ring. And she says, and I'm on my period. And as she's walking, she turns around and she's smiling the whole time. I just went to one person after another. And here's what's powerful about this. I didn't feel rejected at all. Like I was getting stronger and better.
It's like a high. You feel like
Right.
I did that to 50 girls at a Cal State Fullerton, asked 50 random girls for their phone number. It is so powerful. It is so freaking powerful.
I walked up to the police car. I said, I want to drive it. Take me for a ride. Can I borrow your stun gun? Just anything. Didn't matter. Just anything off the charts.
That's amazing.
I mean, I got a list. I should post this on Facebook. But here's what's powerful about this. I didn't hear the word no from anybody. Like, more so in this country, you go to the UK and you ask somebody that, they'll be like, no. And they feel great and they walk away, or even Australia. But here, we talk so much stuff to cover up saying yes or no.
Wow.
And that's what they were doing. They were giving me all their, excuses or whatever, but no one said no. But I did ask like a 9, 10-year-old boy, I said, can I have your shoes? And he looked at mine and he looked at me. He said, no, thank you. And he was the only person that said no.
Wow.
So what I got is, and I got a lot of yeses and yeses at things that, you wouldn't normally think you'd get a yes to, but it was like, wow. So, and then I jumped in my car and went home. I wouldn't recommend doing this where you live because, you never know.
Never know.
But so I got over my fear of asking for things. And so the key to it is, a lot of people, if you're asking from the state of emptiness or desperation, it's really hard to come from that place and feel good about asking. But the best way to do it is, one, recognize that asking for help is not a sign of weakness. Asking for support is a sign of greatness. Asking for what you want says that I'm actually ready to receive it. So for men, a lot of times they don't ask for what they want because, unconsciously, they're not good at receiving. And so they won't ask, because when you're not good at receiving and you ask and the answer is no, it's like a double whammy. Like it hurts.
Yeah.
And so, and I work with guys, I've got guys that have been married 7 years and they're still terrified of asking for something as simple from their wife is, I really just want to go play basketball with the guys this Saturday. I mean, and this guy's, he owns 10 businesses. He's up to 7 million a year. He lives in Indonesia 6 months out of the year, and he's terrified to ask his wife for what he wants. And so it is a big challenge. So what I recommend people is they just start practicing either with a coach or somebody else, and start with asking for the most outrageous stuff so that you start to associate fun to it. Like I was having fun today. It was a huge stretch. I mean, I was terrified driving to LA knowing I was going to get out of the car and do this. But, it's okay if you feel fear. It doesn't mean you don't have to stop doing, the exercise. So I had to set that breakthrough up because I needed it. But the best way to do it is, I want to be on your show. And then here's why. So I think if you back up, if you know why you really want it, it's much easier to ask for it.
Yeah.
If you're clear on why you want it, asking for it becomes the last 10%, the how-to. And so a lot of people have that backwards. They're trying to figure out how to get what they want instead of really asking themselves, well, why? Like that guy asked me, why do you want $1,000? By the way, he gave me 200.
What? That's awesome.
And then when I was done, I was walking back to the car. Those 3 old ladies were parked in front of me.
Yeah.
When I went back to the car, they were laughing. They're like, "Who else did you dance for?" And I was like, "Nobody." But I did get to go ride in a cop car. So I asked the third lady. I said, you kind of look like you were reaching in your bag for pepper spray or something. And she goes, "Come over here." And I went over there, and she pulls out like this huge wad of $100 bills because they were using money for their cards. And I thought, I missed it. I made up stuff. I thought it was a stun gun, so I didn't ask her for money. But, and they loved it.
Yeah.
Like they were still laughing about it 2 hours later. And I said,
wow.
Happy to have an impact.
Yeah.
But, you just ask. And in the beginning, you get to embrace the fact that it's uncomfortable. And you get to embrace the fact that the other person can say or do anything they want. And you have no control over that. All you have control over is that you get to ask and you know why. And the why behind it is far more important than the actual asking of it. And so, if you're in a relationship with somebody that has trouble asking for what they want, you just got to open the space and make sure that they know they are free to ask at any time. And you give them permission to. But in the beginning, you got to give yourself permission.
Yeah. Wow. That's incredible. I give myself permission to ask, Carl.
There you go.
I know you give yourself permission to ask. If you're out there listening right now, I want you to type in the comment box, I give myself permission to ask. Type that in. So powerful. So powerful. I give myself permission to ask, because Carl is dropping some gold on us, ladies and gentlemen. My goodness gracious. Thank you. Sharing some gold. It's really, really great. So thank you, Carl. And in terms of becoming the new masculine, what else do we need to know to be able to access that, to tap into that power that is just waiting for us to integrate and become complete?
Well, I think guys need to look at how do they currently define it. And I started off with protect, provide, procreate. And that is so one-sided and small. Like men are so much more. And if you notice, women, they were socially conditioned to believe to be a good mom, to raise kids, stay at home, to be the gatherer. Yeah. And now that role doesn't work for them either. I mean, they're kicking butt in business. More women are starting businesses. So both men and women are looking for that integration. And so men need to look at, well, what is masculine and what is it? And then how am I relating to it? Because men have gaps, and their biggest gap is how I think I'm showing up and how I'm actually showing up. Right. And there's usually a gap. Yes. So, what is it and how am I relating to it? And then what else can it be? And you'll usually see the similar pattern of the new masculine is about being revealed. It's about being seen. Wow. It's about everything is a matter of choice. Is this in alignment with my purpose? Is it not? And you'll start to see that your hormones, your mind, your body all start to work together around your purpose. And, they just all start to come together and align with what your purpose is. And that's really when you have the most power to manifest, right? You can only manifest so much being the half guy, one head or the other, but leaving the rest of you out. And when I look at, men and their business plans or, whatever planning system they use, 9 times out of 10, here's what I see. They're unclear about their why, and they leave who they are out of the success equation. They hide behind the system or the formula or the tool or the tactic as if that's why they're successful, as opposed to because this is who I am. And so the old masculine does it to become someone, to be seen, heard, and loved, where the new masculine, I am, therefore I do. So that guy is free to create anything, where the other guy is very limited.
Yeah.
Right.
I also hear awareness. Awareness is present in the new masculine. Hey, like, who am I being? How am I showing up? Versus the old one, it's like, hey, I know I'm supposed to just do this, and I have no idea why I'm doing it. There's like lack of awareness, and that's probably why problems arise. And there's lack of awareness on emotional intelligence and like, what am I feeling right now? What's the experience? How is my word performing in reality? So I think that's a really cool distinction to focus on. Are we aware of why we're doing the things that we're doing? Why we're getting the results that we're getting? And that, like you said, the message is the message that we're sending. Is that the same thing that people are receiving? Is that do we have awareness? And that's almost getting into emotional quotient, right? The emotional intelligence to find that out.
Yeah, brilliant. It is the awareness. The old masculine doesn't have time for feelings or emotions, and if he does, he doesn't know what to do with them anyway. So why bother? Right? Yes. The new one realizes that if you stuff or repress any of your emotions, especially the ones that make you uncomfortable, you're actually hiding the rest of you.
Wow.
And now you're working against you, and it gets frustrating, and we struggle, and then we burn out, and we can't figure out why.
Now, there's an example of if you're like in the ocean and you have all these beach balls around you, right? Like there's a thing that pops up, a beach ball. It's an issue. It's something that we don't like about ourselves. We're ashamed of or anxious about, whatever. We put the beach ball down. It's like, okay, I got my beach ball down. Nobody's going to see it. I'm hiding it. Then another thing pops up, and now you got another beach ball to deal with. It's like, okay, now I got two beach balls to try to keep down. And men just all these beach balls keep coming up, and like, how do we keep so much stuff repressed? It doesn't work. It's going to overwhelm us eventually and cause a huge blowout or explosion or whatever it might be.
Right? Yeah. Right. Look, what I say is that which is not in integrity or in alignment with you as a man will usually break down at some point, if not fail. It has to.
Yep.
Because that's not really what you're up to.
Wow.
And that's the biggest piece. But yeah, the new masculine is more of the embodiment of why he's here and what he's going to create why he's here. He doesn't give success so much meaning that it creates this resistance and pressure of having to do it, having to succeed because, you want to make 20 grand a month. That's great. When I hear a guy say, I want to make 20 grand a month, first question is why? He wants stability. He wants to be important. He wants freedom. Well, that tells me you don't believe you are that guy now. Right? So hence you're chasing after the 20 to become something. And so it's backwards. And when you flip that the other way, all of a sudden your economic engine as a man, this is one of the things I talk about with men is, your velocity of cash flow. How quickly can you manifest wealth? And the guys who are operating from their superpower, what they're really here to do, they manifest money so much faster than the other guys.
Wow.
It's not even funny. I've got guys going from 10 to 20 grand a month, 50 to 60, and they're doing it within 90 days because they know why they're here. And so there's no holding back at that point. Whereas the old masculine holds back way too much. We hold back too much of our feelings, our truth, our love, and we delay stuff. So to add to this, is what I'll say is, and it just came up yesterday. And I got a client, brilliant. I mean, he's one of the best business minds I know. I bring him into some of my clients. That's how brilliant he is. And he's doing all the right things. He's got his plans, his chart. He's holding himself accountable. He's got an accountability chart. He checks it off and he sends it to me every day. But his results aren't going up, and it's really bumming him out. He can't figure out why. And so here's what I find with a lot of guys is they want to do this or this, and that they are doing it. They are taking the steps, and something still isn't clicking all together. For him and a lot of guys is they haven't fully decided to actually have it. They've decided to go do it, but they actually haven't decided to have it. And
receive it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And so it was just this huge eye opener. And I said, tell me why you want it. And he said it. And it was like, on a scale 1 to 10, he was like at a level 2. Like, you couldn't even feel the vibration. And this is what guys do a lot. They'll say they really want something, but if you listen to the vibration and the energy, it's not necessarily there. They're not actually feeling it. They'll feel it to some degree in a limited capacity. But when it's just pouring out of you, like you don't have to say anything. It's very, you are seen.
Yeah.
Right. And so decision making for men, nothing kills our masculinity and our testosterone and our self-worth more than being indecisive. And we have it backwards. We try to figure everything out, get our ducks in a row. And I'm like, look, you're not a duck. Ducks have to be in a row because they don't feel safe. They can't survive not being in a row. You're not a duck. You've got to feel safe in who you are and your purpose. And they'll tinker with their toys or their ideas. They start moving chess pieces around to see if that makes them feel better. They look for validation. They'll call us or they'll call their friends. Am I going on the right path? And so, if you're, let's say 50, 60% there, you make the decision. The rest of the power and the faith and the courage shows up when you're fully in the game, because that's where you need it the most. A fan watching a basketball game may know how to do a layup or something, but he doesn't need the rest of it because he isn't getting into the game anyway. Right? The rest of it will show up when you are in the game, and you've got to trust that. How do you do that? You just decide to trust it. Like, there is no how to trust. You just decide to be the guy, be fully in the game, and expect problems are going to show up. Like, expect that.
Yeah.
And you get to handle that. But you can't handle that being this guy until you're the guy that's fully engaged and in the game. That guy, he knows how to handle that.
Wow.
So you make the decision, and then the rest moves forward. When you make that decision, you're shifting your entire frequency. Your entire vibration shifts. And then all of a sudden it's like, wow, I'm not doing anything, and it's happening. I don't understand. It's just...
What does it take to get to that position of shifting? I know you talked about a visceral experience. Like, what is that? Like, how do men attain that?
It's really just a conversation. It's a conversation where you just keep going deeper into the conversation. It's like talking from your balls. I'll say it that way. Men connect with that. Yeah. Like, all of a sudden, when you hear somebody speak from their heart, it's different than when they're speaking from their head. I mean, it just comes through. And usually it's just this repetition in a conversation where they have a space and a freedom to go there, because, just on our own, we won't go to the depths of that to get to the truth. We'll need support, because how men have survived is in their head. And so this is like, wow, what do I do here? Well, you don't do anything here. This is where you're creating stuff and it's happening, and you're like, well, I'm not doing a whole lot, but it's happening. So for men, they got to feel what it's like fully taking themselves on. I mean, you got to throw yourself down. You got to let your purpose have its way with you. Right? Good. Otherwise, you're going to keep holding back.
Yeah.
So, but for men, it's, they really got to feel it. We got to spend more time in really feeling it, not convincing ourselves this is right or we're feeling it, but actually feeling it, and then cultivating that.
It's huge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Big distinction right there.
Yeah.
I've caught myself doing that.
Right?
Yes.
Right. I mean, we can pull it off verbally and mentally a lot, but that always comes to an end, and we want sustainability.
Yes. 100%. So when men have this new masculine, what does the world look like? What will we be seeing in the world? What's your vision when this starts coming to life, and ultimately the vision?
Oh, wow. Their relationship to everything just completely shifts, because they realize that we are connected to everything, that they are creating it and they're building it. And that's when men are the most powerful and happiest, is when we're creating and building things. And they're actually having impact in the world. So he also starts to see that, everything outside of him is great and wonderful, but it's really about how well he experiences himself determines what what happens outside of him. So I think the lens completely shifts. We're not performing or trying to prove to ourselves or needing validation. We're just walking on purpose everywhere we go, and we are seen. It goes back to the three things I said earlier. We're seen, we're heard, and there's no question that we matter and we're on the right path. And when you wipe those out from men and they're living it, that they become fearless. They become fierce lovers of pretty much everything. And there's very few things that can shake them up. Like, very few. They become extremely resilient. And when it comes to women, it's all of a sudden they encourage her to express her emotions, whereas before they might have to tolerate it or just hang in there to survive. Now they're encouraging it.
Yeah.
You know, with their kids, they're starting to see them for who they are and their strengths and their gifts and bring that out. So people start showing up in a much more powerful way around the new masculine than the old.
It's beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah.
And you said something there about the kids. Curious how your coaching, awesome powerhouse elite men, has showed up with your daughter, right? Like how has that impacted your relationship, and how have you seen her for herself and drawn out her gifts?
Sure. Here's a prime example. So my little one is, you know, she's got a pretty interesting mix between masculine and feminine. Her mom's pretty masculine. And so my little one's great. She's got the tomboyish energy, but when she's around me, she won't wear a dress for anyone else but me. Right. And, you know, even when we were, you know, she was 3 or 4, she wouldn't play with a doll or do quote unquote girl stuff unless she was with me, because I gave her the freedom to do that. So she's very independent and she's very smart. Her mom's, you know, written lots of books, very successful, probably more than I in some respects. And so she's been in this transformational conversation since the day she was conceived. And she has to do things on her own. So I've always given her the freedom to do that. And now what I'm starting to notice, which I didn't pick up on for a while, is that we'd be rock climbing and she's a better rock climber than me. And now I'm starting to notice that she'll step on a rock and she turns back to see if I'll put out my hand, to see if I'm going to be there for her. Because now a little bit more of the feminine's coming out. She wants to know that she can be taken care of and met emotionally. That, you know, she can't do it all. But so it was kind of this interesting dance. She's so independent. A lot of men run into the same problem with women that are very successful. It's like, how do I support someone who's so independent? I don't know what to do. And you just assume that the feminine always wants to be supported. They always want to be cared for. It's just in a different way. And she needed to know that no matter how independent she is, that if she put her hand out, that dad would be there. Right. And I just saw this in my current relationship. You know, her daughter's 16 and, you know, her dad is, you know, very narcissistic. And then after a couple of times of meeting me, she asked her mom, she says, "Are all men like dad? Because I kind of like this guy." And so it's just interesting. The person, you know, kids will globally project men are this based upon the relationship with dad. And so, you know, my little one's like me. She's an empath, but she doesn't want anyone else to know but me. So we have those conversations. But for me, I have to, because she has such a strong masculine side, I've got to bring her back to nurturing her feminine side. So we go get manicures, we go get pedicures. I make sure she talks about her feelings. But, you know, she feels safe to do that. And so the old masculine doesn't feel safe. And by the way, doesn't make the feminine feel safe either. New masculine is safe. And so his presence is going to create much more safety on all levels for the feminine, which means the feminine can just roar and be wild and be crazy as she naturally is. Yeah.
I think David Data, is it Way of the Superior Man?
Great book.
In his book, I think he talks about the wave crashing on the rock. Like, the man is the rock and the woman's ferocity is the wave. And as long as that man stays the rock and says, "Hey, you know, you can do whatever, you know, like the winds will howl, but just know that I'm here to hold space for you and I love you, and whatever happens, like, we're in this together," kind of thing.
Right. When a man's fiercely and courageously taking care of his own heart, he's naturally going to do it for her. But the old masculine doesn't deal with this. It's go, 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 go. More success. I think I know it all. I got this, even when I don't. Like I had to break a lot of my male clients from saying, "I got this. I'm doing it. I'm on it," even when they're not. Right. Yeah. And so, you know, you can be the rock standing in the wave. I don't know how intelligent that is anymore. It's nice. It looks noble, but, you know, it's, you at some point you're going to get washed up, man. Like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
So, or you could just surrender and dance with it. Wow. Like, I think it was Bruce Lee that said, you know, I'm not the rock, I'm the water. You know, be like water. And so the new masculine is much more, or less rigid. He is much more fluid, much more fluid. So yeah, it's great. When he is on purpose, you know, men ask me, should I get married, or I want to be in a relationship? And, you know, I'm working on all these other things. And I said, look, if you're not on purpose, you know, the relationship is going to bring out the worst in you, not the best.
Wow.
I mean, it's just going to challenge you so much, because the feminine is going to find your wounds, and she's going to want those healed, because that's what the feminine does. So if you don't know your why, you know, stay single, be intelligent about that. You know, don't go down the marriage path until you've married your own purpose, man, because you won't be fully present to her.
Yeah. How long does it take to discover a man's purpose? Like, is there, I'm sure it's a range, but like, is it years? Is that like, if someone doesn't necessarily know their purpose, could it take years before they're able to get married because they still haven't discovered their purpose yet?
Great answer. I've with most of my guys, it's less than 90 days.
Awesome.
And half of them actually know what it is. They're kind of living it, kind of not, but they don't want to fully engage in it. And that's the big thing with masculine, is they have to fully engage in everything in their life, not just kind of or partially, or be talking with your wife on the phone while you're on Instagram. You know, like, you have to fully engage. So a lot of them know it. They just don't want to acknowledge it for whatever story they're making up about it. And then the other guys are just, you know, they haven't had enough understanding. And what a man does when he doesn't know something is he thinks more. And that's our natural response. He thinks more, he thinks harder, he processes more, he tries to sit with it. And really what he's doing is he's actually hiding from it. But it sounds much better when you say, I'm thinking about it, or I'm, you know, practicing it or discovering it. You know, and that's that part of us that growing up, it didn't necessarily matter. It was, what are you going to do? How are you going to take care of her? How are you going to take care of yourself? It was never, why are you here? Because like, that's it. Everything else is just a distraction, or, you know, an external accomplishment game. So either way, you know, if you want to go the external route, make a whole bunch of money and have everything external you want, I guarantee you'll have to face your purpose and take it on then. You may not like it, maybe harder, or you can just choose to have it now, because once you do, all of a sudden, everything shifts in that exact direction for you. So usually 90 days, and usually it's just an uncovering of it through conversation, through some technique, some strategy. But when you're, you know, in a room full of 100 guys all going through the same process, it just happens that much faster. But most of the time, guys have some level of insight. And like I said, the other guys don't. But once they really start talking, you get them connected and grounded. And then they start talking about what they're passionate about, what they're great at, what their skills are, their strengths are. It's like right there. And everyone in the room could see it but him. And then by the 5th or 6th day, he's like, oh, my God, maybe this is it. And then on the 7th day, he goes, oh, this is it. And it's almost like he has to figure it out for himself. It's still a little bit of that. I got to see it for myself. And it's true. But yeah, it can be pretty quick. And then, you know, after that, it's a matter of, well, how do we integrate that to all of our lives? Because purpose isn't something you just do on Wednesdays between 7 and 9 because it's in your calendar.
Or a job title, right?
Right.
That's what I do.
So they start to learn how to integrate and live this so that it's not just a separate experience. And some guys I've got a guy who's in mortgage. He does 30, 40 grand a month in mortgages, and it's not his purpose. Like his purpose is really about being in service to his community. And so it's kind of killing him. You know, his weight's going up a little bit. He doesn't have time for his kids. And, you know, those are the guys that struggle the most, is when they're engaged most of the time during the week in something that takes away from their purpose. And that's a hard one, especially if they're making really good money. It's hard for the mind to justify giving that up to go find your purpose. Like, are you crazy? Why would I do that?
Wow. So is there any questions, Carl? This is an amazing interview. And Rachel said, I give myself permission to ask, and love what you're teaching about the new masculine. Awesome. Great stuff, Rachel. Is there any question that I didn't ask you, Carl, that you wish I would have?
Oh, man. You're awesome. By the way, this is like so great. So here's what's great about you is that, you know, your energy brings out more. Like, I love doing interviews. I love being asked questions. And before I got on, I'm like, just let the guy lead. Like, whatever comes up is exactly how it's supposed to be. So, thank you for your energy, man. This is, I can't think of anything. I feel great about this.
Awesome. Then let's talk about Rarity LA. For everybody who's out there listening, tell us what that's about and what you're creating with that.
So Rarity LA is a brotherhood of guys who bring their greatest strengths, their purpose, their skills, and their resources to the table for everyone else. And what I've done is I've curated the best practical knowledge and downloading of really solid information in a tactical way for men in the areas of their body, their being, their business, profit, sales, marketing, even science and research and innovation. And we meet every other Saturday in LA. I talk, and I'll usually have two guests. Chris Wise is going to be there about his 19-month journey in federal prison, and like, love and kindness prevails over violence. Who would have thought? Like, talk about being in an environment that does not want you on purpose, and here he is living on purpose while he's in that environment. And then I got Jay Wong, who's 28 years old, well over 6 figures doing podcasting.
Awesome.
The guy's he's got energy just like you. And then we bring rare speakers. That's why I call it rarity. It's not things you're just going to get every day. But the goal there is, embracing the new masculine, elevating each other so that we can all accelerate. And I mean, it's taking off. Rarity for Women started last week. We had over 23 women in the room.
Awesome.
And, it looks like we're going to have 50 next month. So again, this is something that came about a year ago. I wrote the whole business plan for it while I was writing, and I was sitting on a plane. This woman, started talking to me, old lady, and she ended the conversation with, "You're a rare individual. You're a rare guy." And I was like, I'm calling it Rarity. So it's like, there it is. There it is. I'm not good with the whole titles of anything thing. People ask me, what's the title of your topic? I'm like, I just show up and deliver. Like, right?
Yes.
So she's like, you're a rare kind of guy. So I called it Rarity. And that's what it is. That's the experience men and women are having. Like, this is a rare experience, because what I'm not about is just more knowledge and systems and funnels that guys can hide behind. Like, and knowledge has become a sedative. We have so much of it.
Yes.
And, people have to filter through all that. But all you really need is, it comes down to your one superpower. Align it with your economic engine, and you're going to have both spiritual and economic success, crazy success of both in your life. So rarityla.com. Our next one's on the 30th, and then it's pretty much every other Saturday. We have a third event during the month, which usually is outdoors. In December, we are all playing Dad Christmas Santa Claus to about 2,000 kids in LA who, have never had a dad. And so we're also taking on sex trafficking in California, because it's huge here. And, you can imagine, how guys feel that have kids, especially girls, of that going on. So we're raising tons of money and doing great things there as well. So, it is rare. You're not going to find a whole lot of speakers you'd find anywhere else. I got a guy, listen to this. He's done 100,000 burpees. Swam across the Hudson. Like, he's an astrophysicist and just decided, I'm giving all this up. And he doesn't eat any food from a box, can, or wrapper. Like, and he talks about leadership in the environment. Like, that's rare. Like, so I've got guys listening to, why is he doing this and what is he doing, so that I can connect with that and start to elevate, rather than just go to yet another seminar and listen to great information and get a shot of heroin and it wears off a week from that day. So it's really about engaging in each other, challenging each other, and making sure that we really build a platform. My coaching is all about, I call it the framework for men to embody power, purpose, and productivity while maintaining their freedom, because that's the big piece. We can feel powerful and productive and produce results, but it takes away from freedom everywhere else in our life.
Yeah.
And men have 1 or 2 areas that's working, and 2, 3, or 4 they're hoping to get to. But how do you take it all on and still feel free in the process and love the process of it?
Yeah.
So that's what all my work's about.
That's awesome, man. I really hear the pathway. You give people the pathway to get what they want, to experience the fullness of themselves and life. It's like you've done the work, you've seen the patterns. It's like, hey, you don't have to suffer. Like, let's tap into the whole you, the real you, and give you the life of your dreams.
Yep. Once you got the knowledge, you got the tactical plan. Now it's about, let's go do it as a team of brothers.
Yeah.
Like, here's the accountability to that. And we just don't hold back. I mean, we're happiest when we're creating and building. Even if we're not getting the results yet, we're still happiest when we're creating and building. But that's where the masculine needs to live.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Carl, anything else you want to let people know about how to stay connected with you, what to do next in terms of signing up for Rarity or anything like that?
Yeah, you can go to rarityla.com. I think tickets are $35, 50 for two. You can also go to carllogrecco.com. If you fill out the strategy session at the top, especially for the men, you fill out those questions, it actually populates a framework. And I can measure where your body is, where your purpose is, where your hedgehog or financial engine is, all the way through, and it scales out a business plan. Then I jump on the phone with you for 15 minutes, and we go through it and see really where are those gaps. You think it's, you're showing up this way, but here's really how you're showing up. And then what's the common denominator? What are the 2 or 3 strategies we need to close that gap and get you in embodiment and on purpose and producing what you're here to do?
Wow. Awesome, man. Awesome. Carl, you are amazing, dude. Keep up the great work, dude. And we have Rachel, who said would love to connect and collaborate with you, Carl. She's coming on next. So she's a powerhouse. You're a powerhouse. Highly recommend you make it happen.
Cool.
Or I could do it.
Thank you, man. I love it. I love your energy. Keep going. I'm supporting you 100%. And I'm sure we're going to meet here really soon in person.
Just the beginning, man. This is just the beginning. You have the best day ever, dude. We'll talk soon.
Hey, you too. Thanks, buddy. Bye.